My name is Vorruk, senior tactical analyst aboard the Dominion warship Kethnalver. And I want the record to clearly state, for whatever galactic tribunal eventually reviews this black box, that I told Commander Braxis this was a terrible idea. He did not listen. Nobody ever listens to the analyst. The mission briefing had been straightforward by Dominion standards. Planet Vega. 3. Third orbit from a medium yellow star. Nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. Surface covered in 70% liquid water. Primitive civilization. Barely spacefaring. The Resource Extraction Committee had flagged the planet's rare mineral deposits, specifically a vein of kethenite running roughly 16,000 kilometers to the southern continental shelf. Enough kethenite to power the entire Dominion fleet for 3 centuries. The indigenous species, classified in our database as Homo sapiens, have been rated at a threat level, and I am quoting the official report directly now, negligible. Negligible. The word haunts me. We arrived in low orbit at 0400 planetary time. 47 warships. The Kethnalver led the formation, flanked by destroyers, with 3 carrier-class vessels hanging back at a safe distance. Commander Braxis was in his command throne, looking very pleased with himself, the way commanders always look when they think something is going to be easy. Initiate first contact protocol, Braxis said, straightening his collar. Our communications officer, a young Dominion male named Zellick, opened the broadcast channel. The standard message transmitted, the universal declaration, the one that translates into every known language and essentially says, "Your planet has something we want. Step aside or be removed." We waited. The response took exactly 4 of their minutes. It came not from a government signal, not from a military frequency, not from any kind of official planetary defense network. It came from a commercial broadcast channel, a news channel. Specifically, a small, soft-faced human female appeared on our screen. She was holding a rectangular device to her mouth. Behind her, large crowds of other humans were moving with considerable urgency. Some appeared to be pointing upward. Some appeared to be taking visual recordings of our fleet. "This is Mara Stein, reporting live from downtown Raleigh," she said, speaking rapidly. "Where citizens have gathered to watch what the government is calling, quote, an alien fleet in low orbit. The Pentagon has not yet issued a formal statement, but sources confirm that President Callaway has been moved to a secure location, and general hold of the Combined Defense Command has been placed on." Zellick muted the channel. "They are broadcasting our arrival on a public entertainment network," he said slowly, blinking his secondary eyelids. "Primitive response," Braxis said. "Fear, confusion, exactly as projected." I looked at my sensor feeds. Something was not matching projections. "Commander," I said, "I am detecting significant energy fluctuations on the planet's surface. Power plants reacting to the stress of invasion. Predictable. The fluctuations are directional, sir. They're oriented toward us." Braxis waved a hand. "Analyst Vorruk. The species uses chemical propellant projectile weapons and early-generation electromagnetic pulse technology. Our shields could stop a small moon. Please do not embarrass yourself further. I would like to note, for the record, that I opened my mouth to respond and then close it again because I'd spent 14 cycles learning when Braxis was going to dismiss me anyway. Instead, I watched my sensors. What I was seeing did not make sense, not in any way that fit our database. The energy readings were not from power plants. They were from thousands, possibly tens of thousands, of individual fixed and mobile platforms across the planet's surface. And they were not panicking. They were coordinating. The news broadcast, which Zellick had stupidly left on a side monitor, was still running. A different human now. A male in a gray uniform. Gray hair. Jaw so rigid it looked structurally load-bearing. He was speaking at a podium. "We have confirmed 47 bogies in low orbit. As of 0600, all planetary defense systems are green. The Horizon Array is fully charged. All naval assets in the Pacific and Atlantic corridors are in position. I want to be very clear about something." He looked directly at the camera. "We did not spend 40 years building a Horizon Array to let it collect dust." I turned to Braxis. He was frowning now. "What is the Horizon Array?" he said. very quietly, in the tone commanders use when they're trying to sound calm while absolutely not being calm. I ran the query through our intelligence database. The file on human military technology was, I will admit, not recently updated. The Dominion's pre-invasion survey of Vega. 3 had been completed roughly 20 of their years prior. And apparently, in that span of 20 years, this species had been busy. The file that came back was not large, but what it contained made the temperature in my secondary circulatory system drop approximately 4 degrees. The horizon array, I read aloud, because my voice was the only thing currently working properly, is a coordinated planetary defense network comprising 11,000 individually targeted kinetic and directed energy platforms, hardened against electromagnetic interference, distributed across 6 continental surfaces and 140 orbital microplatforms. It was designed, and I quote their own documentation here, specifically in response to the possibility of a hostile extraterrestrial approach in force. The bridge went very quiet. They built it, Zelek whispered. For us? They built it for whoever showed up, I said. On the news channel, the gray-haired general had been replaced by a graphic, a planet, with 47 small red dots above it, and 11,000 blue targeting vectors drawing lines between the surface and each red dot. Braxis stood up from his command throne. Raise shields, he said. And every single blue line on that graphic fired simultaneously. I want to tell you that Commander Braxis responded with genius tactical thinking. I want to tell you that. Very badly. What actually happened was that Braxis screamed, grabbed Zelek by the collar, and demanded to know why our shields were not working. Zelek, to his credit, was already running diagnostics with 4 to 6 hands while being physically shaken by his commanding officer. It is a skill. You develop it in this fleet. The answer to why our shields were not working came back in roughly 3 seconds. They were working. That was the problem. The Horizon Array had not fired one weapon. It had fired 11,000 weapons, simultaneously, from every angle, from above, below, lateral, and vectors that our shield geometry had never been designed to account for, because no Dominion tactical engineer had ever considered that a primitive species would build a planetary defense system specifically engineered to attack from every mathematically possible angle at once. Our shields had been designed to handle frontal assault, flanking pressure, even coordinated broadsides from multiple vessels. What they had not been designed to handle was 11,000 kinetic lances, each one precisely calculated to arrive at their individual target at the exact same microsecond, distributed evenly across our entire shield surface, like a planet-sized fist closing around every ship simultaneously. Physics, it turns out, does not care about your threat level classification. The Keth Nalver shuddered so violently that 3 officers were thrown from their stations. My display, console cracked straight down the middle. Emergency lighting kicked in, coating the bridge in a deep amber glow that made everyone look both dramatic and terrified, which was fitting, because we were both of those things. Damage report, Braxis said from the floor. He had fallen. I did not mention it. I am a professional. Shields at 31%. I said, 11 vessels in the outer formation have lost propulsion. The carriers. I stopped. The carriers, what? Vorruk. The carriers are retreating, sir. Braxis got up. His collar was crooked. He did not fix it. They do not have authorization to retreat. They appear to have made a personal decision. On the news channel, still running on Zelek's side monitor, because the universe has a sense of humor, Mara Stein was back. She was now standing on a rooftop, hair moving in the wind, eyes wide, gesturing at the sky above her where the light from our stricken ships was visible even through planetary atmosphere. What you are seeing, she said breathlessly, is the Horizon Array's first full combat deployment. Multiple alien vessels appear to have lost power. Social media is absolutely losing its mind right now. Turn that off, Braxis said. I find it informative. I said. He looked at me. I turned it off. Return fire, Braxis ordered. Our weapons officer, a veteran named Dolan who had survived 3 campaigns and had the psychological damage to prove it, began targeting sequence. Our primary array locked onto the largest concentration of surface platforms, the cluster along the eastern continent, and fired. The beam hit atmosphere. It scattered. Dolan stared at his console. They seeded their upper atmosphere with a refractive compound. Our energy weapons are dispersing on entry. Kinetic ordnance, Braxa said. The orbital microplatforms are intercepting kinetic payloads. They have point defense coverage across 93% of the planetary surface. There was a pause. A long one. What? Braxa said. Do they not coverage on? Dolan checked. Mostly the deep ocean floors. And the polar ice caps. I do not want the ocean floors. I want the Kethanite deposits. Yes, sir. Those are in the southern continental shelf, which is at 100% coverage. On my crack display, a new alert was pulsing. Another energy reading. This one was not coming from the surface. It was coming from orbit. Specifically, it was coming from the 140 orbital microplatforms that I had noted earlier, the ones listed in the Horizon Array documentation, the ones we had somewhat glossed over in favor of being alarmed about the 11,000 surface units. Those platforms had, up until now, been running passive, watching. They had just gone active. Zellick, I said very calmly, how long have humans had a presence in orbit? Zellick pulled the data. His face did a thing that faces do when the information being received is significantly worse than expected. Continuous crewed presence for approximately 25 of their years. Significant expansion in the last decade. He paused. There are also, these are not all on our charts. What are not all on our charts? The platforms. We cataloged 14 of them in the pre-invasion survey. The current count is... He rechecked. He rechecked again. 143. They built 129 additional orbital weapons platforms. I said, in 20 years. While also having the ground array. Braxis was standing very still in the center of the bridge. I had seen this before in Commanders. It was the posture that occurred when a plan had stopped resembling a plan and started resembling a list of regrets. Sir, Dolan said quietly, the orbital platforms have achieved targeting lock on our remaining functional vessels. All of them, sir. Simultaneously. From the communications console, a new signal came in. Not a broadcast channel this time. A direct, targeted, encrypted hail, specifically aimed at the Kethnalver. Our own encryption frequency, which should not have been possible for a species we had rated as negligible. Braxis answered it. The gray-haired general again. Same jaw, same eyes. He was sitting now in a room that looked deeply, almost aggressively unimpressive. Beige walls, a small plant in the corner, a ceramic mug sitting on the table in front of him, which I later learned contained a hot liquid humans consumed to manage stress. He was not managing stress. He looked like a man who had been waiting, patiently and very specifically, for this exact conversation. Commander, he said. His translator rendering was clean and precise, which meant they had been studying our language for some time, which was another thing nobody in our pre-invasion survey had thought to check for. My name is General Aldrich. I will keep this short, because I suspect you are having a difficult morning. Braxa said nothing. You have 41 functional vessels remaining. Your shields are below a combat threshold on 30 of those. My orbital platforms have a full targeting solution on each one, and the Horizon Array has completed its reload cycle. The general picked up his mug, took a slow, deliberate sip, set it back down. You have a choice. You can attempt a second engagement, and I can promise you a result that your fleet will not survive long enough to document. Or you can withdraw. And if we withdraw, Braxa said, with remarkable composure for a man standing in a ship that was held together mostly by warranty and wishful thinking, you simply allow us to leave. Yes. Why? General Holt tilted his head slightly. The expression on his face was something I have spent considerable time analyzing in the cycle since, and the best translation I have found for it is, the particular look a person gives when the answer should be obvious and they are somewhat disappointed it needs to be explained. Because, he said, you leaving alive is more useful to me than you leaving as debris. Debris doesn't go home and tell people what happened here. He paused. You leaving alive does. The channel closed. Braxa stood there for a long moment. Navigation, he said. Sir, get us out of here. We left, all 41 of us. The carriers had already been gone for some time, which I noted without comment. As the Keth Nalver broke atmosphere and entered the jump corridor, I took one last look at my sensor feed. The horizon array was standing down. The orbital platforms were returning to passive mode. The planet below was turning gently in its star's light. On Zelek's monitor, which he had quietly switched back on, Mara Stein was standing in the street. People were everywhere. They were making noise, a kind of collective, sustained roar that their vocal anatomy apparently produces during moments of significant emotion. Some had their upper limbs raised. Some were holding each other. One older human male near the camera turned and looked directly at the lens. He said something. Our translator rendered it. Yeah, he said. That's right. Zelek looked at me. Negligible, he said. I closed my console. Update the threat file. I told him. We did not go back. Nobody went back.